So that was our Superfast News segment, but meanwhile, let's shift our focus now. Joining me right now for a special discussion are two prolific Australian cricketers. Shaun Marsh, who's of course known for lighting up the IPL before anyone even knew what it was, and Tim Paine, a former Australian Test captain, also famous for his generous invitations to Indian cricketers to the Gabba. Welcome, gentlemen. You're on a roll in the World Championship of Legends. You've even hammered the Indian champions, and also thanks for reminding me of my traumatic childhood as an Indian cricket fan.
No, you're welcome, mate. We look forward to doing it again in the semis. It's been pretty good. Obviously, a lot of us haven't played a lot of cricket for a long time, so bodies are getting used to it. And I think the Aussies in particular, we're getting better as it goes on. So particularly this man here, he's starting to hit the ball all right. So as soon as he's too many starts, though, he needs to get a big 100, I've told him.
In particular, enjoying batting with Finchy. Obviously played a lot of cricket with Finchy, so it's nice to be able to get that opportunity again to walk out to bat with him, and not only him, but the guy sitting next to me as well. We all sort of grew up playing cricket together or against each other, so it has been nice to see some familiar faces and play together again.
Now, Tim, of course, you've had great battles with the Indian team, particularly with Virat Kohli, who has now, of course, retired from T20 internationals. Now, despite the on-field banter, off the field, you've always been vocal about your admiration for Virat Kohli.
He's the best player I've ever seen. I think Shaun will probably, anyone who's played in the modern era will tell you that. When it was a bittersweet moment when you played against him, because you desperately wanted to get him out to win the game, but you couldn't help. In my seat as a wicket keeper, to appreciate just how good he was, particularly when he played against us in Australia, and knowing how good our fast bowlers are, and to see him just come out and take control of games and do it with such flair and technique was, again, sort of like with Jimmy Anderson, which feel really lucky to have shared a field with him and played against one of the all-time greats.
Also, Shaun, like I mentioned earlier, you are also known as IPL's first ever superstar. Now, it's been very long, but how has the tournament changed since then?
I think just watching it this year, to see how far the T20 game has come has been incredible. And, who would have thought when I, back in 2008, that we'd be seeing scores of 280 in a T20 game. So, players have adapted. Not just the batters, but also the bowlers. But, to see these big scores throughout the IPL this season was outstanding and, fun to watch.
When he's off camera and you ask him that, he says, if the wickets were as flat as they are now and the boundaries were roped off at all, he would get 200 by himself.
Also now, speaking of that, Tim, big news this week is that one of the greatest bowlers of all time, Jimmy Anderson, is all set to retire. Finally, you had some great battles with him, the Australian team, and you, in fact, at the test level especially. Any fond memories that you like to share?
I don't have too many fond memories facing him, that's for sure. He was hard work, and I only faced him a couple of times, to be fair, in Australia, and really flat wickets, and Shaun played in that series as well. And I was just amazed at his skill level. His longevity in the game is unmatched. And I think you're right. I think he is the GOAT. I think he'll go down as probably the best fast bowler when you put the whole package together. He wasn't scary quick, but I think his skill, the way he swung the ball in England, I don't think anyone's ever bowled a Duke's ball better than that man. And he was able to adapt to different conditions as well when he toured internationally. So, I think he's probably the greatest fast bowler we've ever seen. And we won't see another one do it for as long as he has, I don't think, probably ever again.
Also now, Tim, talking about legends and, of course, everything that happens around the game, you took over the reins of the Australian cricket during one of its worst phases, and then you turned it around remarkably. How do you look at Dravid's tenure as the Indian coach? We're also learning that Gautam Gambhir could also be the head coach of India very soon. If that happens, do you foresee any noticeable changes in the Indian cricket?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know Gautam myself, but obviously Rahul's done an amazing job just winning the World Cup, and they look like, and I don't know this, but they look like sort of completely different characters, as you said. Caught him sort of hard on his sleeve, seemed to be very aggressive. And even when I remember playing against him, he was a really competitive, punchy kind of unit. And Raul seemed to be really relaxed and very chilled out. So, look, I'm sure Thornton will come in and do things his way. But, yeah, I mean, there's no guarantee that any sort of personality works or doesn't work. We've seen lots of different styles of coaches work over the journey. It'll be interesting to watch how he goes.
Also, Shaun, now, of course, talking of cricket and the T20 World Cup, the cricketing world witnessed the madness after India's T20 World Cup win. While it's great to see, do you think also it adds to the pressure as well? And of course, could it be one of the reasons why India tends to choke at the final hurdle?
I'm not sure how to answer that. Look, what I will say is that, playing in India and seeing how passionate Indians are towards their cricket and towards their players is incredible. And, to be able to play in one of the best T20 competitions in the world, and just to see how fanatical fans are and how supportive they are, and, to see the Indian cricket team on that bus, last week, and such cricket is loved in a country like India.
Now, also, Tim, before we wrap up, of course, you're from Tasmania, and there's, of course, a new all-weather cricket stadium also coming up there. Do you also reckon that, given the finances and also the technology involved in the game now, the ICC should find a way to ensure that the games, at least now, in this day and age, are not washed out?
Yeah, well, that's what it's all about, isn't it? We want fans who are paying their money that they work hard for during the week to come and have a great experience at the cricket. And I think the stadium that's going to be built in Tasmania in the next 3 or 4 years is going to be the best in the world. So it's going to be amazing to see if we can, down in Tasmania, we don't normally get a lot of international cricket, and we certainly don't get Test cricket, and we certainly don't get big nations like India, England, South Africa, these kind of nations coming down. So I think a goal in Tasmania is to have the first ever indoor Test match. Obviously, the roof is completely see-through, so light won't be an issue. But yeah, I think, as years go on, I think we're going to see more and more roofs built on stadiums. But certainly for little old Tasmania to have the very first one, and to maybe have, a huge Test match against India under a roof for the first time is going to be really special for not just Tasmania, but for world cricket. And hopefully it's a huge success when it does happen.
All right, Tim and Shaun, appreciate you joining us on the broadcast there. Of course, you've been great servants of the game. You've served Australian cricket well, and also entertained us for many, many years. Appreciate you joining us here on Mirror Now, sharing your views about the game and also all the happenings around the world of cricket. Shifting focus now, viewers.